Welcome back. It is day 19 of our 40 days through the book of Mark. And so tomorrow is day 20, which means that'll be our halfway point through this study. So thank you for being part of this. And remember, we are unpacking more of who Jesus is, especially leading up to his death and burial on what we celebrate as Easter weekend. We are in Mark chapter 7, so let's continue reading together. Then Jesus left Galilee and went north to the region of Tyre. He didn't want anyone to know which house he was staying in, but he couldn't keep it a secret. Right away, a woman who had heard about him came and fell at his feet. Her little girl was possessed by an evil spirit, and she begged him to cast out the demon from her daughter. Since she was a Gentile, born in Syrian Phoenicia, Jesus told her, "First, I should feed the children, my own family, the Jews. It isn't right to take food from the children and throw it to the dogs." She replied, "That's true, Lord, but even the dogs under the table are allowed to eat the scraps from the children's plates." "Good answer," he said. "Now go home, for the demon has left your daughter." And when she arrived home, she found her little girl lying quietly in bed, and the demon was gone. Jesus left Tyre and went up to Sidon before going back to the Sea of Galilee and the region of the 10 towns. A deaf man with a speech impediment was brought to him, and the people begged Jesus to lay his hands on the man to heal him. Jesus led him away from the crowd so they could be alone. He put his fingers into the man's ears. Then, spitting on his own fingers, he touched the man's tongue. Looking up to heaven, he sighed and said, "Epaphatha," which means, "Be opened." Instantly, the man could hear perfectly, and his tongue was freed so that he could speak plainly. Jesus told the crowd not to tell anyone, but the more he told them not to, the more they spread the news. They were completely amazed and said again and again, "Everything he does is wonderful. He even makes the deaf to hear and gives speech to those who cannot speak." So, as we read here today, we're reminded that Jesus is the greatest missionary who ever lived. He came from the greatest distance. He made the greatest sacrifice. And his message is for all people, no matter what. The miracles that we see happening here happen in pagan Gentile territory. And this shows that Jesus is the Son of God for all people. So Jesus heads north to Phoenicia, which is modern day Lebanon. As best we can tell, this is the only time that Jesus went beyond the borders of Israel. He is met by a woman who is a Gentile, and it would have been socially unacceptable for her to approach a Jewish rabbi in any and on any level. However, she comes to Jesus boldly, yet humbly and persistently. Why is she desperate? Because her daughter is demon possessed. The interaction between Jesus and the woman, as seen in verse 27, could be seen as controversial. And of course, there are some people who try to make it seem like Jesus is doing a bad thing, even being racist in this moment. And yet, that is not what's happening at all. Jesus tells the woman, "First, I should feed the children, my own family, the Jews. It isn't right to take food from the children and throw it to the dogs." Jesus has been throughout Mark and is now speaking in a parable mindset. He's making and using an illustration. The word he refers to as dog is more like a household pet that is loved by the family. And he uses the word first. I'm going to first feed the kids before the animals or the pets get fed. Jesus is testing the woman's faith. The good news is, even today, God is not through with the Jews. God cares for the Jewish people, and so should we. This lady hears what Jesus says, and she's not offended and she's not bitter, but she fires back with boldness. And I love what she says in verse 28. She replied, "That's true, Lord, but even the dogs under the table are allowed to eat the scraps from the children's plate." I love that she goes along with the illustration and she goes along with the analogy that Jesus presents to her and says, "Hey, that's right. The kids get fed first, but hey, even the puppies get to enjoy some of the scraps from the kids' plate as it falls to the floor." This is tremendous faith. In fact, he says, great answer. You know what? Go on home. Her daughter is not with her, and yet Jesus sets her daughter free from being demon possessed in this long distance miracle. The interaction we see here is a picture of all of us. We have no rights. We don't deserve to be at the table enjoying a meal with Jesus Christ, and yet Jesus, in his goodness, takes care of us. The cross is a picture of his amazing grace and mercy available to all of us. And no longer are we, as non Jewish people, considered less than or a puppy below the table. But instead, because of Christ, we are adopted as children. And we are no longer under the table, but we are a member of the family, sitting at the table, enjoying the meal with Jesus and the relationship that he offers us in himself. God is so good. As Mark 7 continues, Jesus continues to journey north before turning back toward Israel. He is walking about 120 miles altogether in this journey. A man who is deaf and has a speech impediment is brought by his friends to Jesus. Jesus communicates what he is going to do in a form of sign language. He points to his ears and he points to his tongue, and then he simply says, open. And at the sound of his voice, the ears of the deaf man are opened and his speech impediment is healed instantly. I wonder, what do you think his first words were? It must have been praising and glorifying God. The people's testimony is powerful and significant as they see and experience Jesus redeem and restore over and over and over again what the fall has broken. Jesus is the God who cannot be hidden. He is the Lord who does all things well. Well, that wraps up Mark chapter 7. Join us tomorrow as we begin Mark chapter 8 in our journey through the book of Mark. Have a great one. We'll see you soon.